Brooke Neal, welcome to my podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, Dom. Great to be here.
Do you still identify as Neal, or is it Hayde?
Hayde. Well, yeah, legally I'm Hayde. I mean, I guess because I did have that history in the Black Sticks, everyone sort of has that name of Neal out there. So, I mean, look, you can call me either.
Okay, yeah, we'll stick with Brooke Neal then. Thank you so much for being here today. I don't want to start by embarrassing you, but you messaged me about coming on the podcast, which I commend. The message went, not sure if it's the Kiwi way to recommend myself to come on your podcast, but I thought I'd reach out anyway. What the hell? And I love that. Good for you.
Yeah, look, I think sometimes we do get that little tall poppy syndrome. And for me, I think it's a really important time, like I was saying this year, about lots of people in the athlete world considering their transition after the Olympics. And I thought, I wanted to talk about that transition and what I've been through post-sport. Because, there's only a couple of people on podcasts that I've actually heard really talk about that stage. So, unashamedly, here I am.
Oh, no, I appreciate that, because I do. It is it stems in tall poppy syndrome, I think. But also it's real self-limiting, like you can put yourself forward without being a dick about it. you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
But I must admit, so since I've been doing the podcast, there's been maybe half a dozen people that have put themselves forward, which, when it first happened, my sort of default setting personally was sort of like, oh God, rate yourself. But then I realised the problem now was with me. So anyone that does it, I think it's commendable. Like
to be honest, like I struggle with that self-belief. So like I'm almost the opposite of rate myself. So it's interesting that I guess I just have to prove to myself, like, what have you got to lose? Just put yourself out there.
100%.
You never know what's going to happen.
100%. And I'm glad you're here. So Brooke Neal, one of the goats of New Zealand hockey. Like a 10-year career in the Black Sticks. How many games did you play?
I think it was 176 at the end of it all.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now transitioned into a mindset and well-being coach.
Yeah, I mean, how do you put yourself in a box, right? I mean, I don't know really what I do anymore, but yeah, it's a lot of different things. And I think the biggest part of that is just like trying to help people, really.
Yeah.
I think it's similar to you.
I think it's bloody great. The one thing I'd want to know, though, about what you did and what you're doing now, can you have peak performance and well-being, or does one have to be sacrificed?
Oh, we're going straight to the hard stuff, are we?
I thought that'd be like low-hanging fruit for you, having experienced both.
It is. I mean, this is what I talk about and think about so often, because, this word well-being, like, it's thrown around a lot now, I think. And we tend to separate the conversations out. Like, on one hand, from my experience in the Black Sticks, it's like you got to put in the hours, train hard, like get to the top. And then on the other hand, if things aren't going right, then you look at your well-being, and it's very much two separate conversations. And like the opposite experience actually happened to me, where when I started to look after myself and actually prioritise my mental health and well-being, that's when my performance was consistent, it was sustainable, I was happy again, and I was able to, I guess, maintain 8 years in the Black Sticks versus burnout, quit early, have all these mental health issues. And so I really think they need to be one conversation, and actually like prioritised as important as doing, your physical fitness, which I think it's easy to measure, right? Physical fitness, like you've got your GPS, you've got your trackers.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's a good one. So what? Say you were coach of the Black Sticks now. What would you do differently? Like how could you do things better? Because obviously you don't want to sacrifice that. But it's hard, isn't it? It's a balancing act, because you don't want to sacrifice that performance. No,
you don't, and I think we've got to be careful, because it depends. The answer, I think, is it's so unique to the individual. Like, and being in a team sport is super tough, because the coach has to make sure that everyone's happy, and you've got 25 athletes, all at different ages, stages, fitness levels, you name it. So I think if I was the coach, which I would definitely not want to be, because it's such a hard job, I think it would very much just be that individual contact point and trying to figure out like what do they need to get them to the top, because I think some people naturally have that high work ethic where they don't need to be, pushed and push and push, because they'll do it themselves. What they actually need is to figure out how they're going to actually turn their nervous system to the, parasympathetic and actually learn to breathe properly or learn to sleep properly, I think everyone is so different, which is why it's so hard.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, so the day that we're recording this podcast, it's been announced that another one of the GOATs of New Zealand hockey, your friend, former teammate, Olivia Mary, she's retiring.
Yeah.
So she's played way more games than you, like 200 and something, right?
Yeah, and she's actually been top goal scorer and I think second. Yeah, so she's second highest capped of all time as well. So absolutely incredible career.
But your career's overlapped massively. Like you've been through the Olympics together. You won Commonwealth Games gold medals together. There's these events that you guys went through together that 99.9% of us would never experience. And so I suppose it sort of links you in this crazy way forever. But what would she? First of all, like how close are you with her? Are you?
Yeah.
Like, why did she retire now? Like 100 days out from the Olympics?
Oh, it's a good question. I actually haven't managed to talk to her like on the phone or anything. I just sent a congratulations message. I think my whole career was with her, and she was incredible. The amount of time that she played versus she was out from injury. I think it was most games. I remember her being there. We used to be side by side for the national anthem, and we're both like the tallest in the team, so it's often hard to miss us. But yeah, great memories with her, and yeah, her and her now fiance. They came to our wedding, so very close. But yeah, as in any environment, like you just lose that day-to-day interaction with them. So I actually haven't talked to her for a while, which I definitely miss about being in a team sport. You just take for granted that you see your friends every day. But to answer your question, I don't know why she retired. And when I retired, I think that was the question a lot of people were asking me, the reasons why.
There are similarities. It's like closer to the Olympics for her, but you were like a year out from the Games.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole COVID scenario where... I guess for me there were only two of us that retired that close out from the Olympics, which was Gemma McCaw and myself. And yeah, it was such a tricky time because it would have been easy for me to just hang on in there, which I think a lot of people who were going to the Olympics and striving for it, they would have done.
For non-Olympians, it's hard to understand.
Yeah, I mean,
the mentality behind it. Like, why couldn't you just hang in there for another year?
You plan your life around 4-year cycles, and even like 2-year cycles because there's the Commonwealth Games as well. So it is a tricky mind game that you're playing. And I guess the thing that kept coming back to me, actually, one thing that I really found so important to do was not to go out and ask everyone what they thought I should do, because it would have been easy to go to my teammates and my coach or my partner and my family and be like, hey guys.
Canvas for opinions.
Yeah, I mean, are you guilty of it? You're just like, hey, what do you think?
Yeah, I think everyone's guilty of it with big life decisions, and it actually complicates things even further because the more decisions you get and the more opinions, it just it confuses the situation in a lot of ways.
I think we forget that we are the only ones in that exact scenario who knows exactly what we're thinking and feeling, and so we're the only ones who can actually make that decision, but we'd rather someone else did it for us because it's way easier. So yeah, like that decision for me, I sat on it during lockdown. Like I read a book called Untamed by Glennon Doyle. Have you heard of her?
No, I'll check it out.
She's got an incredible podcast, and I read her book, and it basically she just said, like, whenever I don't know what to do, I just lock myself in my wardrobe pitch black, and I just ask myself the question over and over again, what do I want? And I was like, oh, that really hit home, because I was so worried about the team, the Olympics, what would everyone think, what do they want? And then I was like, actually, like for me.
What do I want? Yeah.
Exactly. And it sounds so selfish, doesn't it? Like we're always wanting to do what's best for the team. But for me, it was such a tough decision.
And what would Olivia be going through now, and what can she expect to go through over the next couple of months? Because it's quite funny. You said something before, like how, you guys, since you're not in the same team, you just don't see each other as often. And I can resonate with that. Like I did the Breakfast Show on the Edge for 20 years. And then when you finish, you realise, like, I'm still close with some of the people there, but you don't see them every Friday and Saturday night because you're not with each other all week. And also, I felt like it's not my place anymore to, like, message and tell them, you give them ideas or say what they should be doing. You kind of just want to remove yourself as much as possible.
I think you're dead right. Like, I think community, the loss of my hockey community was something that I wasn't prepared for. You think that it's not going to be any different, because you just don't understand the fact that, like, you know, for one, they're off, you know, still doing what I was doing, traveling so much, you know, training all the time, so that you're literally just going your separate ways. And then I guess the other thing that's really tough, like, you have not just your teammates, but you've got, you know, all these other people in your life, the people you see at the high performance gym, you know, like, you've got, and you surround yourself with this high performance community for like a decade of your life, and you've got all the support, you know, you've got like physio on call, the doctor, nutritionist, and you're told, you know, all of this information, and you're given all the support, and then all of a sudden it's like not there anymore. That was something that I was really not prepared for. The
loneliness of it, or?
You definitely feel lonely. I mean, my husband's been great throughout the whole thing. We met when we were 18, and he plays hockey as well, so he very much knows and understands my journey. And so it wasn't loneliness in the sense that I didn't have anyone to talk to.
Yeah.
It was just the loneliness that no one actually was going through exactly what I was. Apart from Jem, like, we kept in touch, and that was great. She'd taken a break before and obviously come back with a kid. So we were slightly in different boats. Now I understand what you know, having a kid is like. But it's definitely lonely. But also, yeah, I think it's just that life transition, like those little pauses in your life where one thing stops and maybe something else is getting its feet, but you just sort of struggle with that whole, like, lack of structure. I don't know what it was like for you, like, after finishing the radio, but you have a schedule, you know, like, you have for us, it's like you sign a contract for the whole year, so you know when to get to the airport for the plane, you know, like, you know what to pack. They tell you, like, this is how many kgs luggage you need.
It's like getting ready for a school camp.
Honestly, it's like living in a school camp for my entire 20s. So I didn't have to use that part of my brain that's like planning my life, because it's basically like, here's where you rest, here's the time that you turn up to train, this is the session that you're doing, and all of a sudden you'd think that it would be really freeing to, you know, to be like, congratulations, you've got all this free time. And I just looked at my calendar and just freaked out. It's like, far out, what am I meant to do?
The days are so long.
And that's such a privileged thing to say, like, saying it now, but it's the reality for so many who have that, I guess, rigidity, and you don't get a choice, and you think that that's something that you'd enjoy after retirement. But actually, like, I crave that structure and routine, and so you flip that on your head also. Like, for me, being a mum now, my son Riley is almost a year and a half old, and it's like the opposite of routine and structure. Like, having a kid is basically just having something that you just cannot control, no matter what you try and do. So it's very much like contrast experiences.
Yeah, that's interesting. Oh, thanks for sharing those. They're really interesting insights. Yeah, it is quite weird. I suppose it's like you're in a cage for a while, and then the doors swung open, and it's like, I don't know where to go or what to do.
Yeah, like, one of the biggest things that I struggled with, it wasn't just the structure, but it was like my relationship to exercise and movement. It wasn't something that I prepared for. Like, I always knew that I needed to move my body, like, to be well and mentally, but you don't have to think about what activity you're going to do when you're in the Black Sticks, because you have a session every single day. And so I think I took that for granted, and when I stopped, I just hit a wall. I was like, I don't even know what I enjoy anymore. And I'm so glad that you love running. I'm still trying to find my thing. But one of the biggest things for me was yoga. It just doesn't tick the same boxes as hockey, because it's, you know, you don't get the same adrenaline and endorphins, and I don't think you can ever replicate the feeling of, like, the rush of being at the Olympics or the Commonwealth Games. Yeah.
Although you've had some bad injuries, like you've had some teeth knocked out and stuff like that. That's not going to happen in yoga, which is a plus.
Well, it is a plus, yes. Yeah.
What was the teeth thing? How many teeth?
So you might be able to see, this one's a bit discoloured, but it was these two teeth. It was actually when I was really young. I was 13. Pretty ruthless. Make sure everyone wears your mouth guard.
Were you not wearing a mouth guard?
I was. It just wasn't dentist moulded.
Oh, right.
So that made a difference, because it drops out of your mouth, and I couldn't see the ball from that far away. It came straight at me.
Yeah. You kept on going for like another 15 years.
Some call me crazy.
All right, so since you mentioned this incident happening when you were 13, let's go all the way back. So you're from Whangarei.
Yes.
It feels like from what I understand about you, you kind of adored your older brother, who was a couple of years older than you. What he did, you wanted to do, which I suppose is common with a lot of siblings.
I think so.
Yeah.
I like very much just wanted to beat him at everything. Like, younger sister, 2 years older. When I finally overtook him on the growth chart, that was when he stopped measuring his height. Like, I felt like I'd won at life. So it's just quite funny how I guess everyone's like that with their siblings.
Yeah.
It's that healthy competitiveness. And I guess I always looked at him, and he was very much like doing the extra yards. Like, we'd go camping up north at Whananaki over summer, and for me, normally I'd be relaxing at the beach, but there he is with his hockey stick out there practicing all his little things and going on hill sprints, and so I just sort of joined him really. But he was always like fit, fast, winning all the cross country like from an early age, and I really didn't have that natural ability. Like, I sort of felt like my strength came with just like hard work and trying to
grinding.
Yeah, I guess so. My nickname was actually Baby Giraffe growing up.
Yeah. So you were 6 foot by the time you were like 13, 14.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
that's gonna be a weird day for your older brother, the day that you pass him on the height thing.
Yeah, but like, I mean, I was tall, but I didn't really want to be. Like, I just wanted to fit in,
100%, yeah.
And in hockey, like, being tall, I didn't see it as a strength at the time. But when I got into the Black Sticks, I realised that like my reach, my length of my arms and my legs, I could make some sneaky tackles on people who thought they could get around me. So I guess it did have its pros, but at the time, I was just like tripping up over my own feet.
Oh, please.
I still did all of my Black Sticks career. Honestly, someone put together a highlight reel at one stage of the amount of times I've tripped over, like with no one else in sight. Sniper.
Who put that reel together? That's very mean-spirited.
One of the teammates, I think maybe in a game I'd done it 3 times, and it was just one of those times. Yeah.
So you started playing hockey when you picked up a hockey stick when you were 3.
Yeah. Very young.
So was it? So how did your brother get into hockey? It's a very niche sport. Was it a hockey family? Were your parents into?
Very much so. Yeah, my dad and my mum both played. Actually, like 3 generations. At my high school that I went to, we've got 3 generations of people playing hockey through there. My dad was in the Northland team, and he coached both my brother and I right up until under 18s, I think. So, yeah, very much just went over and the hockey turf was about a 500 metre walk from our house, which helped. We were just over there all weekend. We played hide and seek under the stairs and up at Northland Hockey, and just watched Dad play really, and then sort of grew from there, I guess. Like, that's what I'm really conscious of, and I've talked to my husband about, like, we really want that for our son as well, to just be immersed in that environment, I guess, of just running around, having fun.
Yeah, it's funny. So I had Dame Susan Devoy on the podcast a few weeks ago, and it was a similar sort of thing with her. Like, her parents were squash players, so she'd be at the squash club, and they'd be drinking upstairs or having the meat raffle or whatever. So she was just downstairs, like, whacking balls by herself for hours, and there is something to be said for that.
I think so. Like, my brother and I, like, we turned our old baby room into, like, we put foam pads and staple gunned them onto the walls, and we just have, like, sorry, Mum and Dad, like,
not great for the resale.
But yeah, like, had an Astro turf on our concrete, little driveway, but very much just whenever we could. I think it just kept us busy, really.
And your parents, they were really big on self-development, like quotes around the house and.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And you do that now. I heard a podcast that you did that you're massive on post-it notes. You got post-it notes everywhere.
Oh, I mean, since my son's come along, the post-it notes have, not so much. But I really think subliminally, like, in our bathroom at home, like, my high school friends will attest to this. Like, whenever they'd come over to our house, they'd spend extra long in the toilet because we had this motivational quotes wall, and Mum was very big on, like Tony Robbins. She'd have, like, the CDs playing in the car. And I think that all sort of sunk in maybe at some stage. Just that whole idea of just, I I guess, believing in yourself. I don't know, like at a young age, you've got all those insecurities going on. And yeah, so some of those quotes, you read them and you don't really understand them at the time, but I think they're all in there somewhere.
Do you remember some of them? What was on the wall?
I think one of the ones that came to me actually at a really crucial time in my life was when I was considering retirement, and there was this one quote that I'll probably hash it and get it wrong, but something along the lines of this is your life, do what you love and do it often. If you don't like something, change it. If you don't like your job, quit. You know, and it was just went through this whole list of this is your life really, and
and you only get one.
Well,
it's not a dress rehearsal,
and it's like, wow, I get to decide that. You know, it's my decision. So I think that was one that stuck to me. And yeah, I mean, motivational quotes are all very well and good, but it's just like, I guess what you do with your life, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to implement them. You know, you can share them on your Instagram story, but you actually have to do something and take a step to do something. Yeah. But what a cool upbringing. Maybe not if you had your mates in the car with you and mum was listening to Tony Robbins, but
yeah, and I'm very, very privileged with our upbringing, and you know, we didn't have heaps of money, like we still had to fundraise for all our tournaments, and I guess one thing that that we always did was just like I don't know, get out there, sausage sizzles, I can't say that word properly, sausage sizzles, you know, Cadbury fundraisers, all of the things to get us to those tournaments, because it's hard sending your kid, like hockey's a pretty expensive sport. In New Zealand you've got all the gear as well, and so trying to get ourselves to all those tournaments over the years has been pretty tough, I think.
Yeah, and your poor parents, not one kid that excelled at hockey, but two.
Yeah, God, poor things. It was
stressful.
Yeah. I mean, I think now being a parent, I understand actually the worry of like us getting hurt all the time. I just can't understand how they did it and just let us keep going back out there, because it is, you know, going through all of those hard times. Gosh, I don't know how they stood by, and you know, they were so supportive, so we're very lucky. Yeah. And
at the same time you were really good at dance as well. So it was like and I think I've got this correct, so you almost reached that crossroad that I think a lot of people reach with that are good at, you know, two sports. So say you're good at rugby and cricket, you end up having to decide one because the seasons overlap. Was it kind of like that with you, with dance and hockey?
You've done your research. Yeah. Very much so. Like all through high school I just loved dance, and I think I always kept coming back to the team environment of hockey. That's what I loved about it. And so probably that's why I picked that one over the other. But I was very determined to do not just one sport for as long as I could. And so that sort of meant a lot of splitting myself into all different, you know, things. But yeah, dance was definitely something. I've just recently, you know, with my son, just having a bit of fun with getting dance back into my life, and yeah, I realised that I missed it, because I was known in the Black Sticks of making up like the team dances and things, and so we've got some quite funny videos. Actually, me and Jim McCaw were known of trying to get the party going, you know, with the music and the dance, and it definitely wasn't for everyone in the team, but yeah, I love bringing that into the hockey scene, you know, the unexpected sort of number on the side before in the changing rooms doing the kickball change.
That's good for team building, team bonding. But were you in the team when TikTok was a thing? Or was,
no.
Oh, damn it. Oh, you would have thrived.
Oh, I think so. Look, yeah, we were doing all those sort of like challenges and things, you know, like the Australian women's team, I think, challenged us to do some sort of dance. And so, yeah.
Like a dance-off?
Well, a bit of an online dance-off. The video's out there somewhere.
That'd be so cool if you got to full time in a game and it was like 1-1, 2-1, and then it was like a 10-minute dance off or something.
Yeah, decider.
Yeah. Oh, that's what sort of dance?
I did all sorts, but contemporary hip hop. Sort of actually cheerleading. That was a big part of my life, and I think people underestimate cheerleading. It was bloody hard, like flipping yourself and throwing people up in the air. But
it's a huge thing overseas, eh? There's a bit of a cheerleading community in New Zealand as well, and the athleticism and the gymnastics involved, it's incredible.
I did gymnastics at a really young age. I think that was quite crucial to. I still tripped up over my own feet, but I think dance helped.
So so you made the Black Sticks in 2014.
Yes.
So you studied in, what did you study in Waikato?
I did a Bachelor of Communications. I was really lucky to get a Sir Edmund Hillary scholarship down there. So
what does that mean?
Free uni.
Okay.
So yeah, really lucky.
How do you get one of them?
I think, I mean, it's performance or in the arts or sports, and I think I just applied and yeah got it.
How good. So you get through your degree, and then just as you're reaching the end of that, that's when you make the black caps.
Black sticks.
Oh, sorry, black sticks.
That's all right. That's all right.
What are your memories of first making the team? Were you on the radar?
Yeah, interesting. My journey, I was very shocked because I wasn't the standout player in anything that I did. Like my first 11 at school, I was on the bench very, very much. And then I sort of made like the New Zealand age group teams with the likes of Liv Mary and yeah, lots of the girls who I ended up playing with for a long time. So I did make those New Zealand age group teams. And then I guess when I went to uni, I probably enjoyed myself a little bit too much and had a really fun time down there. and so when I got the call up, I was in my final year of uni, and I was driving up 3 or 4 times a week to Auckland, and then, you know, arriving home at midnight. It was pretty unsustainable. I didn't have much. I think I approached someone to fund my petrol, you know, but not a lot of that was sort of trying to get into the mix, really. So yeah, I was invited to train with the team, and that's where they sort of look at you and there's like a development program, and then yeah, sort of got the call, which I was very shocked at, because I guess it's something that you dream of since you're a little kid, and especially watching my brother go through it all. And then it was finally happening, and I was, to be honest, like quite shit scared.
Yeah, were you? Did you feel like are you familiar with imposter syndrome?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think the first year of the Black Sticks for me, it was so contradicting, because it was expected for me, I had these expectations it was going to be the best year of my life, and due to, I guess, a lot of different things that happened that year, it was probably one of the hardest years of my life. And like, to be honest, by the end of 2014, so when I debuted and it was a full year, I was ready to quit, really, to be honest. We can go into that detail if you want.
Yeah, yes please. Why?
Well,
yeah. So, it seems, for someone, it seems like a head scratching thing from someone that's got no sort of idea. It's like you've fucking made it.
Well, exactly. That's what
you're in.
Yeah, you think that, right? So you think all of my happiness is going to come true. Like, this is my dream. And so on the outside, I was very good at that whole fake it till you make it, but also like don't want to be seen as struggling, because that's weakness. I don't know if you do that too. I think it's pretty
completely
common nature, you
know.
Yeah. And so for me, it was like, you know, this experience is a dream come true, and I have to act so grateful, and I am so grateful. But a couple of things happened. So the first was I just had this inner critic in my head, and like you said, imposter syndrome, like saying the most cruelest things. Like my voice was just saying, like, you don't deserve to be here, you know, you're not good enough for this, you're going to muck up again. And like my debut was incredible, like, you know, got presented my shirt, I'm singing the anthem, tears streaming down my face, I just remember it so vividly. And then I just start making mistake after mistake, and it's just like that voice just got louder and louder, and I just didn't know how to handle it. And so like the first it was quite crippling in the sense that I didn't want to share that with anyone, because everyone else looked like they were having, you know, they had their shit together, you know, because no one's sharing the reality of, like, for me, debuting for New Zealand, I was like, I don't know anything about this sport. It just felt like and it's the same with motherhood, by the way, when you throw it into it.
You can read all the books, eh?
Yeah, you're there, and you're just like, how did I get here? I don't deserve to be here. And so that was the start of me trying to, process what was going on inside my head. I somehow got picked for like the next tour.
You can't have done as badly as what you thought.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest,
you must have done enough at least.
I think so, but also like I think I relied heavily on my strengths, which was like I was quite I guess I was a talker in the team, and like communication is such a big thing that is quite valuable, and like looking at the game and analysing it. like, yes, I made plenty of mistakes, but I think that was something that really dragged me through. I don't know, to be honest.
But we should ask the coach. Maybe they keep you in there for your team morale and the dancers.
I think so. Look, dancing does not help. Hurt. Dancing doesn't hurt. But yeah, so something else happened to me early on, so I tore all 3 ligaments in my ankle. Stood on the goalkeeper's foam kicker, like her pad on her foot. This was over in America. And so, yeah, I was in a moon boot and on crutches and was sent home sort of early. And everyone else got to stop through Hawaii. And I, for a little mini vacay. And I was standing on the beach in Hawaii thinking like, no, I've got to get home. And, just really, right, I think it was the sort of, the timing for me was pretty, I guess, important that I was home. I just dealt with the loss of a really close friend at the age of 21. Her name was Caitlin, and she passed away from cancer. And that was a real pivotal time for me, going through that, I guess, it's 21, that's really young. And then I had to rejoin the Black Sticks and prove that I was deserving to be in the New Zealand's best hockey team, going through personal grief. And then you pile on all of that uncertainty, and that voice in your head, and all of a sudden it's just this recipe of, really unhealthy, I think. But I didn't want to be seen as weak, and so I just sort of poured myself into hockey. I think we're guilty of that, right? Like, just ignore what's going on and just, like, pursue that thing that you want to do.
Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, like a lot of what you're saying can resonate with me. But again, like I'm not a high performer, and I think at high performance it's even worse. Right down to lying to doctors and stuff. Oh,
honestly,
I don't have a concussion. I'm good. Or
to be honest, like I was lying to the physio, sorry, Jess. But yeah, like sometimes
you wouldn't be the first, you won't be the last.
No, like I was number one patient in the physio for my whole career, really, because I had this ongoing knee pain, patellar tendinopathy. So I had that chronic pain for like the first 4 or 5 years of my career, where it got so crippling that it basically became like a part of my identity, because it was just relentless. And had I not pushed through in those early stages, I really don't think I would have done as much damage. But being new in the team, like you just don't want to be seen as weak. It's like push through, because I was like coming almost last in the fitness tests and everything. So I thought, I can't afford to take a back seat here.
Yeah, and I suppose you work so hard, and it's your goal from the age of, I don't know, 3, 5, whatever, and you finally get on that treadmill. The last thing you want to do is like voluntarily step off.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about us Kiwis. It's sort of, I've gotten better at, like, how do you tell, how do you say, look, actually, I don't want that opportunity. I've got to actually just stop and rest. But I actually think it's really important to do that sometimes when you know that it's going to cause you even more issues. Yeah,
absolutely. Because your physical health, like if you've got debilitating knee pain that's keeping you awake at night, you can't have one without the other, really. You can't have like poor physical health and good mental health, because they sort of link in together. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, I think that's what started my journey into this world of like wellness, if you'd like to call it that, because I got to the point of like I was almost having these anxiety sort of episodes in the car park before I would step out and go to training, and all these little things started to develop. Like I got this real anxiety around being late to training, just little things that really caught me off guard. And so it was just the fact that I wasn't dealing with all of those things. Actually, one thing that I was weighing up whether or not I'd share, maybe I will. I don't talk about it much because I don't know why, but something that happened to me before the Black Six career was my husband and I were actually in the Christchurch earthquakes, in the middle of them. And I think maybe the reason I don't talk about it is because we were very lucky, and there's so many people who had it worse off.
Oh, like survivor's guilt in a way.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe. But we were on Cashel Street in the middle of it all, and saw a lot and survived basically, and I didn't really process the effect or impact that had on me, and so again, pushed that away because I came back to Hamilton where no one had been in the earthquake and we just got on as life as normal. And then all of a sudden I'm thrust into this, Black Sticks career. So I think all along, like when we talk about sort of that retirement transition, I can touch on like what came up and what bubbled up from the surface. But yeah, all along I also had that sort of underlying, I guess, mode of anxiety from this traumatic event that I probably was not conscious of. But yeah, so all of this is building, and yeah, just got to the point where I basically like sat down one day after training and on the couch and just thought to myself, like, I actually can't keep going the way that I am. Either I'm going to quit or what am I going to change? So very close to just calling it there. And just little things. I don't know if you've had this experience, but like just the tiniest little nudge from someone can give you that little bit of hope, or follow a breadcrumb and all of a sudden that's your way out.
Yeah, especially if you're desperately looking for an answer. And
and it's like the teacher will appear when you're ready.
The student's ready. 100%.
So for me it was actually a podcast that my brother sent me, and it was talking about it was Tim Ferriss's podcast about meditation and the Headspace app. So that was my first sort of glimmer of hope that maybe that voice in my head, like maybe I can control it or work with it. But from there on, it was like, right, where can I get the edge? Like, what is that 1% that I can do? And so I just went on a bit of a geeky, sort of rabbit hole of yoga, meditation, all the things, back when meditation wasn't really talked about that much. I read a book called The Mindful Athlete by George Mumford, the MBA psychologist, and that really changed the game for me. And changed my performance too. Like I was all of a sudden actually, instead of being like on the bench, I was starting lineup, being able to be relied on in those moments.
Yeah. So you were in the team for a really long time, like the best part of a decade. Did it get to the point where you enjoyed it? Where you enjoyed parts of it? Or was it just the aspects of it that you enjoyed?
Yeah, I mean, like anything that when it's your full-time job, I think you sometimes lose that spark of that full enjoyment phase.
It's natural,
And it does, like the actual nature of what you see on TV versus what reality is of the amount of hard trainings that you do. I think that you never really enjoy all aspects of it, but when you think of that sort of 1%, when you're like running out at the Olympic Games, there's definitely some moments there where it's like, man, that was so cool. And like you can't really have the same experience again where I got to travel the world with some of my closest mates, and see some pretty cool places. So yeah, definitely enjoyed it. And also at the same time, it was just, really hard. I don't think that's talked about enough, and that's why I'm really quite passionate about opening up about the hard aspects, because I don't want to sound ungrateful. Like it was an incredible experience, and it's taught me so much. But at the same time, people think that like have I guess false expectations of what it's going to be like at that top level. Just going to be like smiling and medals,
Yeah, no, I think it's good to shine a torch on just how hard things are, because I think that's another Kiwi thing as well, to go on, about being appreciative and being ungrateful about things. But it's like it shouldn't be. It's a harsh reality of it. It's like high performance sport. It's not for the faint, is it? Well,
I got this feedback. From quite a few people. I had a post called Dear Olympian that went viral. It was after the Tokyo Olympics. I wrote a letter to myself as what I wish I knew directly after the Olympic Games. And it was just an open letter, and the likes of sort of like Michael Phelps and all these incredible Olympians sort of picked it up, and it just literally, I think it was like 50,000 likes or something, just went crazy. And I think the reason why people resonated with it was because what you said, no Olympian wants to sound ungrateful and whinging. And I did get, those people, the armchair critics, saying like, oh, poor you've been to the Olympics,
boo fucking who.
Yeah. And so when I wrote it with those Olympians in mind, I think that's why people resonated with it so much. But like that, like I'm thinking about Paris coming up this year for all of those Olympians who, and maybe it's not the Olympics, maybe it's, just another event, but man, it's such a tricky time to navigate afterwards, because literally no one understands what you're going through apart from everyone who was there, and it's a bit of a mind game.
Yeah, completely. Wow, Michael Phelps liked your post. What were some of the lines in it? Can you remember? I mean, Michael Phelps is he the most successful Olympian of all time? He's got like 20 gold medals or something.
Well, and what I was excited about was, his opening up about depression and mental health. I was like, this is perfect. Should I get the post?
Yeah, go on.
It's a bit of a long one, and you can probably cut it if you.
Absolutely not. I'm not a high performer. No editing around here.
No editing. No.
Could probably do with an edit some weeks, but nah.
Yeah. Here we go. Sorry.
No, you're right.
You could probably
obviously really hit a nerve with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Obviously, like hit the tone bang on the head.
It did, yeah. So here we go. A letter I wish I got after the Olympics. Dear Olympian, I just wanted to pop in and check on you. So you might be a little confused right now. You've just competed at the world's biggest sporting event, and yet this is one of the lowest times you've ever felt. You've been in this bubble, your own little world, with 10,000 athletes who are at the top of their game. You've poured blood, sweat and tears to get there, but you weren't really prepared for the day after, for the week after, for the months after this huge spectacle. You weren't prepared for life to continue as if nothing happened. When you walk down the street and from the outside you still look the same, but your insides are still processing all that you've been through, and no one can see that. They don't understand, you might think, not even your close friends and family. This is the hard part, because unless they've experienced the Olympics before, how can they possibly understand? Yet somehow you get frustrated at them and you're unsure what they even did that was wrong. It's okay, it's part of the process. Continue to connect with them and walk with them through your feelings. You find yourself with 56 unread messages, not wanting to open them and reply politely. You consider copy and pasting the same response and then you give up. You're surrounded with so much love and support, but somehow you still feel alone, scrolling through your phone mindlessly to fill the gap that you have that hurts. You cringe at the messages that ask, how was it? Unlucky, you fought so hard. How does it feel to be an Olympian? Because you don't know how to answer and you've got mixed feelings. On one hand, you think, yeah, that was freaking epic, what an experience. But on the other hand, your heart has been ripped to shreds from the roller coaster you've been on, and you're on the verge of tears over the smallest things. Like you're a tree that hasn't put its roots down, and the smallest gust of wind could knock you over. You feel a little selfish, don't you? Because your relationships have been pretty one-sided lately. It's always been about you. Just remember, in relationships, there's always give and take. You will have your chance to give them back to them in time. Perhaps you can focus on planning an exciting adventure together with a loved one and create some conversations that don't involve what you've been through. Talk to those who have been there before you. Connect with your teammates. After all, they're no doubt experiencing the same thing too. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah. Keep going. Geez, I'm loving this. Geez, you were just having like you're just pouring out your thoughts, say like a brain dump.
Yeah, this is just
I think it says a lot about where you were.
This is
mentally exactly,
at that time. And what I needed to hear, you know. So it's just a little bit longer. So your body is limping, aching, bruised, and begging for attention, pleading with you to rest. So you've been sleeping all day, but you're still exhausted. Have you heard that before? So don't. That's normal. Don't worry. I know that you. I want you to know that guilt you've been carrying, you can let go of it. The guilt that you feel for not wanting to make breakfast, let alone exercise, is a normal emotion to feel. But we can let that go. You've just spent 100% of your energy, focus and time and heart to be at the top of your game, and you deserve to rest without feeling guilt. What's the point of exercise anyway, you might ask? We've had this huge goal to get out of bed for, and now you have some time to yourself and you're thinking, what's the point? Remember how good it is to feel, to walk in the sand, to stretch your muscles. Start small and take off your stopwatch. So you don't need to be hitting targets. What I know for sure is that everything you're feeling will pass. You'll start to feel better, I promise. Take it one step at a time, one day at a time, and remember, you're exactly where you're meant to be. So
in hindsight, so you wrote that a lot of years ago, 2016?
Well, I actually wrote it in 2020.
Right.
So thinking about all of my teammates who were coming home, and even to worse situations where they're all having to isolate, for COVID. So they couldn't be with their close friends and family, and I actually sent it to a few of my teammates, just thinking like, I hope this helps you, because that's what I experienced.
Yeah.
I only wrote it in 2020, but I very much remember that 2016 feeling.
So it sounds like you were like properly depressed after the Olympics. Do you think?
No, to be honest, I don't think that I was.
The whole thing about you're not wanting to get out of bed and sleeping a lot and still being tired.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? But I think in hindsight's great, isn't it? Like we look back, but I think the one thing that really helped me was my support from like my husband and my parents and my family, because the one thing that I did differently over the years was actually just realised I don't have to suffer alone, and I can reach out for help and get that support, I guess, because we often just think we'll just get on with it and soldier on, but
crack on. Yeah. Wow. So do you think you guys finished fourth at the Olympics, which is like the worst place?
Thanks for the reminder.
Does that make it even worse, like being so close to the medals? And
I don't know. I think all we ever talked about leading up to those Olympics, or all that sort of was always running in the background, is win a medal, and London 4 years prior, we also came fourth. So it was in the back of our minds, like, we don't want to do that again, And even talking to some of the girls who had been to London, they shared their experiences, and it was very much going into that bronze medal match thinking not about the worst case scenario. It was always like, we're going to get this bronze. So yeah, when we came fourth, I think I had this this feeling of like, well, who am I now? Because I just put all my hopes and expectations on that medal. And yeah, I actually have you seen the Netflix documentary Diana Nyad, the swimmer?
Oh, the swimmer.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's incredible.
So incredible. And like, again, this little breadcrumb that really helped shift my perspective. And you know how everyone says, like, enjoy the journey, like, it's not about the destination. So corny and so cheesy, but I was very much trying to figure out, like, what's the point if we go to the Olympics and either we win a medal or we don't, we still come home, and then what, And so I was home thinking, like, what am I doing now? And I watched a TED talk from Diana Nyad, and she basically in one way or another said, like, regardless of whether or not you get to that other shore, I have to look back on my journey and ask myself, will I be proud, even if I don't get there? And that really hit home to me, because I thought, man, I could be doing so much more than just playing hockey to have an impact. And so that's sort of, I guess, where things shifted, and I quit my marketing job and I started my own business, and I guess wanted to be who I wish I had when I was younger, which is, I guess, a bit of a mentor to those young athletes coming through. Yeah.
Oh, I love that so much. Have you got the Olympic rings tattooed anywhere?
No.
Really? What?
No.
I thought it was compulsory.
Oh, no. I feel like I might have been a bit of a chicken, because I thought, if I ever go to the Olympics, I will. And then you sort of get there and you're like, oh.
It's like any guy that ever does an Ironman, you have to get the Ironman logo tattooed on your car. Have you got it? No, I don't. But if I did an Ironman, I would absolutely get the fucking tattoo.
Well, you've got that on record now, so
yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, let's just dig around the Olympics for a little. Is it not too painful to talk about?
No, it's all good. Yeah.
Any good like Olympic stories or Olympic experience? I think the podcast guest I've had so far that's had the best story is probably Susie Bates.
Oh yes.
Who, the cricketer?
Yeah.
So she went there as a teenager with the New Zealand basketball team.
Yeah.
And they got invited out on the bus with the USA Redeem team, I think it was.
I've heard this.
Yeah. So it was like Kobe and LeBron.
Yeah.
And then they went to a booth and they were sitting with David Beckham.
Yeah, that's awesome,
Yeah, what do you got?
Oh, the closest one I've got is walking out of the food hall and seeing, because they had tennis courts in the village, just like practice ones, and Djokovic was just having a hit with his training partner, so we were all sort of just a bit starstruck there. And then I guess one of my favourite moments was actually after we lost the bronze medal, and actually I think, so it was Ruby Tui who I talked to about this afterwards, but she's been like, I don't think you realise how much that meant to us. So shout out to the Sevens girls, because they, small things, but it's just being empathetic in that moment of, that's just such a kick in the guts. We've come forth, we're all sitting around the village moping, and get a message from the Sevens girls saying, hey girls, come downstairs, we've got something for you. And at that stage, so the free McDonald's line in the village, was very long, and like sometimes you wait for an hour, and because our tournament runs for the full 2 weeks, weeks we actually couldn't obviously have McDonald's, so that was sort of very much waiting for us afterwards, and the Sevens girls lined up for us, waited an hour in the McDonald's line, and then brought us like 30 cheeseburgers and, you know, like 30 chips and everything, and just had them on the table for us, and we just came down, and like I remember almost bursting into tears. It was like, you guys are so nice.
Yeah, that's
so
lovely.
yeah, that was awesome. And then I guess probably my ultimate favourite was the opening ceremony. We actually didn't get to go because we had an early game the next day, but we all got dressed up and got our special pounamu. And I look across and, you know, there's the haka and it's underneath the Rio stars and all the things, you know, lining up, and you're just pinching yourself. And I look across and I catch a glimpse of my big brother, which was
because he was playing in the men's team at the same Olympics. That's crazy for your parents.
Oh, yeah, wild. Because only 2 children, you know, in the family, and it was just like, that's the guy who I, you know, like grew up trying to beat, and now we're both here, and it was a really cool moment. My parents, that was the first time they'd actually like properly left New Zealand together, was to come and watch both their kids at the Olympics.
What do you mean properly left New Zealand
well
together?
Like we didn't have the money to just like go overseas adventures. They were helping us get to all the places we wanted to go, so they were very selfless in that respect, and so they found themselves over at Rio and watching their kids, which is pretty cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of stats or records about siblings that have made the same games?
I haven't looked, but like...
It can't be. It's not that common, right?
Yeah, I mean, no. I think that similar sports are quite common, and we've had like a couple of siblings in the Black Sticks, like the Harrison sisters in the women's team and things. So, yeah, but it was pretty special, to be over there.
Oh, now you've mentioned your teammate and friend Gemma a few times. Gemma Flynn, she was.
Yeah.
Do you remember? So were you with her when her and Richie McCaw started dating? And what are your recollections of that time? 'Cause it seems weird. It's been like it feels like there's been a few moments in hockey where there's been like a spike in sort of popularity. Like I'm thinking of like Mandy Smith back in the day, who was seeing Mark Ellis.
Yeah.
Then there was Honor Dillon, who was seeing Dan Carter.
Yeah.
And then Gemma when she started dating Richie, which is it feels like a little bit of an eye roll in a way that hockey gets this extra exposure when you've got these players that start like dating high profile guys.
Oh, I don't really remember much. It was such a long time ago. It was just a promo that we did with the All Blacks, and yeah, from there, like I remember Richie came and visited the village over in Rio, because obviously he wasn't playing in it, but he came and talked he actually talked to us before the games, and
like a pep talk.
Pretty much, and when it's Richie McCaw, you listen, you know. So it was like everyone was...
It's not like, what does he know?
Yeah, it was like tuning in, like everyone was leaning forward. And one thing actually that he said that really stuck with me was that fear of what if we lose, you know. And he said, you got to turn it around and ask yourself, like, what if we win? How exciting is that? That really, like, mentally was a really cool thing that I hung on to. But no, two such beautiful people. And I was just talking about, I just saw that they're off doing an adventure race either today or tomorrow, and just how cool is it that they've both found something after sport like that, you know, to do together.
Oh yeah, they're an insane couple, and just the amount of discipline they have,
Yeah,
they're just absolute goals. I love that too. That thing about what if we win. I think that was a line. Maybe I heard him in an interview, or maybe it's in his Chasing Great movie. But I've heard him say that before, and I'd never actually thought about that until he said it that way.
Neither had I. Yeah.
I read a quote on Instagram the other day, and it said it was talking about something about in a monologue, and you know how you tend to think about the worst case scenario, and the quote said something like, if you're gonna listen to that voice, you also have to play out the best case scenario and the most likely scenario as well. And I thought it's a really good way of looking at things. Because you just catastrophize, don't you?
Yeah,
it's
and
human
like
nature.
I think human nature for our default setting to be negative, because you're trying to, you know, survive really,
Yeah.
like that primal instinct. So yeah, it's definitely something that we have to really train our brain to look at all the positive things. Yeah.
It's hard though. Hey, you mentioned your best friend Caitlin before. You want to talk about her a bit? How did you guys meet?
Yeah.
Is it a university friend or younger?
No, high school. Yeah. We actually just had her 10-year anniversary, which is just mind-blowing. I still get choked up about it. Probably don't want to talk too much about it. It's still definitely like, I think about her all the time, and I think when you go through a loss at that young age, I think you grow up quite quickly and realise what's important. But yeah, like having a son now, everything hits home a bit more about, you know, how devastating that is to everyone that knew her. But she was such a beautiful soul and very much, you know, fought to the end. So I'm so lucky that I got to know her as long as I did, but very much, huge impact on my life. She was so ahead of the game in terms of looking after herself, and like I look back on some of the things that she was saying, it's like, man, you had so much more to give and say in this world, and that's what I try and do, is I guess take a bit of her legacy and try and keep her memory alive as well. Yeah, that's why I think I do like to talk about her. It's like, you know, she was a massive chapter of my life, that she's still sort of on the back of my shoulder talking to me.
Yeah, it's funny, because it's like if I put myself in that position, I think the worst fear I'd have about dying is probably being forgotten. You know, cause you
got too many videos out there, the podcast. I think.
No, but I don't even mean like from a broader perspective. You know, because it's like no one's remembered forever. Like the earth is so big and we're all so small. Yeah. Even someone like Ed Sheeran, 200 years from now, no one's going to give a fuck. No one's going to remember him.
It's true. Yeah.
But yeah, you realise that life goes on and people carry on and the world keeps moving and the sun keeps rising and all that stuff. But you just don't want to be forgotten. Did you how often do you think about it now? Is it still daily?
Oh, it's a lot. Like, I mean, coming up to, you know, anniversaries and things always tricky, and we try and keep in touch with her family, and we just unveiled a memorial bench seat up in one of her favourite places up in Whangarei, and whenever I go back there and catch up with people, she's never far from my thoughts. But yeah, she was just such a delight to be around. Everyone who knew her, you know, it's just only positive things, and we definitely miss her a lot.
Yeah. When big things happen to you, do you wonder like what she would think or what she would say?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, very much so.
What do you reckon? She'd be proud of you?
Oh, you're gonna make me tear up. Yeah. Hope so. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Well,
thanks for sharing that. Yeah, that's really cool. How did you cope with that? Like you were in the team environment at the time, so I guess you had access to sports psychologists and stuff. Is that enough to deal with like personal grief and personal tragedy?
I mean, again, it depends on how much you want to share, right? How much I wanted to share with those people who were trying to support me. So I think I probably could have helped myself a lot more. But again, like the stages of grief being denial, you know, you sort of just want to push it down. So.
Oh, did you sort of like lie to people as well, like sports psychologists, like, no, I'm doing good?
Not necessarily lie. I probably just was like denying, I guess, in myself. You know, you learn about the stages of grief, which I don't really agree with anyway. I don't think there's a linear way to process grief.
They don't necessarily come in order. And
no.
Everyone's different as well.
Yeah.
That's good. You right?
Yeah, all good, yeah.
I think it's hugely complimentary, by the way. I had a podcast yesterday with Eugene Berriman, who's the UFC coach.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible guy. And he lost a friend like 14 years ago in a boxing fight. This guy had a pre-existing condition, ended up taking a hit and basically died in Eugene's arms in the ring. And he said he still thinks about him every day. Like it just never goes away. Yeah. It's quite funny because people say like time heals the wounds, but I don't know if it does. I think you just sort of, you know, you just adapt.
Yeah.
The grief never sort of goes.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Yeah. All right. Hey, subject change. We'll talk about what you're doing now, eh? So, mindset and wellbeing coach. How do you explain that? What does it mean for someone that doesn't understand?
It's funny that you go to what I'm doing now and then because for me it's like basically I'm a full-time mum. That's in my mind. I'm like pretty much just, you know, in the thick of that life. But yeah, like I think, I don't know how to put a label on what I do because it's so many different things. But I guess when I was doing it while I was in the team, and so when I retired I sort of stepped full-time into my initiative, which I called at the time All About Balance, and then thinking about that word balance, it's like that striving for something that I don't think really exists, does it? Like how do you find the perfect balance in your life? And so I got challenged on that word quite a bit over the years, and I think for me, like I just all of the tools that I sort of tucked away over the years and was able to use to perform at that high level, I just sort of thought like, yes, you can go and see a psychologist, or you can go and you can go and get the help, but actually like trying to find someone who's been through what I have was really hard. And so I thought, if I can start talking about these things and a young athlete's listening, and then they decide that they're going to, make sure that their mental health is a priority, then that's pretty cool. So yeah, I just started workshops and I guess little mentor programs and things, and it sort of just grew from there. Yeah, my latest, before I had my son, we did like a pretty large online intake and connected like some pretty cool athletes from around New Zealand, which has been awesome to watch them go on and make New Zealand teams and set records and things. So that's been something that I'm really proud of too, because yeah, it was a pretty emotionally draining I guess sector to be in, that mental health space. You've got all these young athletes who I guess on the surface it looks like they're okay, and then I all of a sudden offer them this safe space and they feel comfortable enough to sort of give them that outlet, which was scary at times for me to navigate. I'm not a trained psychologist, so having to sort of steer and navigate them to the right people was pretty important. And that's why sort of when I had my son, I actually stopped that work, because I actually just couldn't take on that emotional, I guess, responsibility.
Yeah. So are you sort of taking a bit of a back seat at the moment? Or you're just too busy, too tired?
I still do offer online stuff, but for me, I'm just focusing on doing some corporate speaking through celebrity speakers, which has been really awesome, and I guess getting the same message out there, because everyone needs to hear it, right? It's like, if you look after yourself, your performance is only going to improve. Like, we need to prioritise our mental health as much as our physical health, if not more. That's the message that I'm so passionate about. And, I'm still having to relearn that every day. As a mum, it's so easy for me just to forget about myself, And so it's very much like I'm having to listen to what I'm saying as well. And
take your own advice.
Yeah.
Sign up for your own. Yeah, there was a thing on your website I saw called the Burnout to Balance 5-Day Challenge.
Oh, yeah.
And it says, are you tired of constantly feeling overwhelmed, always behind, guilty, unorganised, sore and tired? If that sounds like you're not alone, here's your starting point. What can you do in 5 days?
Oh, look.
That intrigued me. That hooked me in.
Did it? Because that's just, you're describing me.
Welcome to every mum, I reckon. Every mum of a toddler.
I need to do my own program. No, it's just, for me, it's like getting people to take that first step, and 5 days is not a lot to make some changes, but it does build that momentum. I think a lot of people get that paralysis because they don't know where to start, and so they never do. And if you actually just decide one day, I'm just going to do this tiny little thing, it's very much like that Atomic Habits, James Clear.
Great book.
Just start small, and that's what I really encourage people to do. It's like those life-changing things. You don't have to, I know you love running marathons, but you don't have to, you can just put on your shoes and go for a 5-minute walk, and that's your starting point. But for me, it's about that consistency. And again, I'm guilty of having those seasons of life where actually, everything does go out the window. But I think that's those small, tiny things. 5 days, at the end of the 5 days, did they make you feel a little bit better? And if it did, why don't you just keep going? Yeah.
God, you're an overachiever, aren't you? Is it exhausting being... Yeah, is it exhausting being you?
Oh, gosh.
What are you now, 30?
31.
31. Yeah, so you're still a kid. I'm 51 now, so I call basically anyone a kid. But I mean, you're still very young on the overall scheme of a full life, and you've done so much. Oh,
well, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know if that's a compliment in terms of sometimes I think it's not that healthy to have those extremely high standards. I think sometimes it's harder for me just to accept the phase that I'm in now, because for me, how do you overachieve at being a mum? Your kid is going to be your kid, and you have no control over that. And so trying to aim for perfection is just, forget about it. You're still not going to sleep. You're still going to be cleaning up, food every single day that they're thrown on the floor. And I was trying to find a clean top to wear this morning, and I'm like,
I was just looking at your top to see if there's vomit up the top.
Well, that's just a watermark. But that's the reality of the phase that I'm in at the moment. And so for me, I don't know. It's just such a such a hard thing to wrap my head around, like where I've been and then also like where I'm going, because I've been really struggling to find a community again, and like being a mum has been awesome because you connect with other mums, but for me it's very much like my online community with my programs has been great, but trying to recreate that in Hamilton has been something I've been missing. And I met with a really absolute legend called Tim Bateman. He's an ex-Crusader.
Oh yeah. O Studios.
Yes, O Studio. Yeah, so that's my next. I wouldn't say overachiever, but like that's my next sort of like goal. I don't know, as an athlete, my mindset was always like, I need something to be striving towards, and that for me, so we're opening a studio in Hamilton, basically a wellness centre, with all things recovery and wellness.
Oh my God, amazing! I've never been to an O Studios, but I'm very aware of the brand, and I love the spaces. I've seen videos and images online.
It's
so
pretty
you can
unique,
have like a cold plunge and sauna and
flotation therapy, and then you've also got your Pilates, yoga, meditation, and a recovery space. So it's basically everything that I love in one place, and really being able to create that community, the sense of community. So, it's pretty rare. I think I haven't been able to find many competitors that have been able to do it well as they have. So it's really cool to have that opportunity to bring it to Hamilton. Hopefully that'll be up and running end of the year. So yeah.
Are you okay? Because I suppose one thing you sort of teach is like mindfulness and the role that plays, and having a healthy mindset. But are you good at you being in the moment, or are you just constantly looking at the next? Thing?
I think obviously I'm not like a Buddhist monk where I'm able to say like I'm always present. But I think the more that I make meditation a daily practice, the more often I'm able to catch myself. So there's definitely times where I lapse in that sort of like actually prioritizing the practice of meditation, so that during the day I do find myself not able to be present. But it's something that, like, before the Rio Olympics, I did it every single day for a whole year, because I just thought, like, if I really want to be the best at the Olympics and, be able to step up under pressure, why don't I train my mind as much as I'm training my body? So I did that, and the effects of that I felt from that were just incredible. So that sort of launched me just making it a daily habit. And if it's not like a sitting down practice, then at least I'm just doing some sort of breath work in the car, or, just slowing my breath down. But yeah, not perfect, definitely not. But I do try and catch myself.
Oh, no one is. I think, being perfect is a myth. What sort of your meditation is it? Is it just like a guided app, or did you do a course?
So I've done all sorts of things. Through my yoga teacher training as well, we sort of delved into it as well. But for me, I started off with the apps and just the short 10 minutes. And then you sort of get to the point where you're like, I'm sort of plateauing here, or, I feel like this is just a bit forced. So I just tried another style, another type. So I do all different things depending on what season of life I'm in and what I feel like I need. If I need more relaxation, then I'll do like a body scan, or if I need more focus, then I'll be more focusing on my breath. But I've done it for so many years now that I don't rely on the guided meditations, and I just love like sort of just setting a timer and sitting there and knowing that I've got this time just to actually do nothing.
Yeah. How do you? Does your husband go out with your kid, or
well?
I'm asking on behalf of all the mums of toddlers here.
Yeah. So like, look. So at the moment, like, he's going through a bit of a sleep regression, and normally like Cam would be having breakfast with my son Riley, and I'd just sneak away and just do literally 10 minutes in the bedroom. So that's sort of how we've been working it lately. But yeah, if he's awake early and Cam's got to rush off to work, sometimes it's just life, isn't it? It's just that's probably the biggest difference between like being an athlete and being a mum is you can pour everything into being an athlete because you've got all the time in the world. Like, that's literally your job. And then all of a sudden, you're a mum, and yeah, sometimes it's like, I don't have 10 minutes.
yeah, 10 minutes is a luxury. But you mentioned before about doing like breath work in the car, and I think as an entry level for anyone that wants to try meditation, that's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
If you're in your car driving to work or the gym or whatever, and you just, I don't know, you could even just breathe in for 3 seconds, hold for 3 seconds, and then out for 3 seconds, and do that for a couple of minutes. You feel amazing. It just calms you down.
Yeah. Or even just like making your exhale double the length of your inhale just really calms your your sympathetic nervous system. But yeah, for me, it's like every time that your mind wanders, I think people think that they're doing it wrong. So they're like, oh, I can't, I've got such a busy mind, it's always wandering. And that puts them off doing it more because they think that they can't meditate. And actually, like what I learned was every time you catch yourself, you're almost celebrating, because that means that you've basically done a rep, like it's like you're at the gym and you've done a rep and you build that muscle so that you catch yourself more and more, and you've got these longer periods of being in that focused, energy instead of always distracted. Yeah, it's a good way to look at it, because people think, oh, I'm useless at that. Yeah,
100%. Because I studied TM, Transcendental Meditation. Yeah. I did that religiously for a couple of years, like 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon. I've fallen off, but it was bloody great.
It probably still stays with you though, like those.
I remember my mantra and things like that. And that's one thing that my instructor said. He said, your mind wanders. When you catch yourself doing it, just be aware of it, acknowledge it, and then sort of reset and get back to it.
Yeah.
But it's not something to be, embarrassed about or feel like you failed.
No, I think everyone should just start small.
Yeah. That's great. Do you journal or anything?
I used to, and to be honest, like my priorities of what I spend my time doing now, I just really have to be quite selective, and this phase I just don't have time to, write. What I do if I have the time is like just whip out my notes, pad, and just write, on my phone, just write a couple of things down. But like journaling was a massive way that I used to be able to just get everything out of my head onto a page, and then I look at it and I'm like, oh, wasn't as bad as I was thinking, brain dump.
Yeah, because I was always journaling just sounded like a little woo-woo to me. And I feel like the word gratitude, it gets a bad rap. But it's bloody great. Like practicing gratitude's been like one of them. If you look at all the different things that I've tried, to make myself better and happier, practicing gratitude is one of the key things.
Yeah.
We all have like so much to be thankful for every day, and you sort of lose, I don't know, I feel like especially if you're striving for something else, you'll lose sight of where you are and how much you've got to be thankful for here and there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that journaling piece, like you often just, when you're writing stuff down, you've got this programming of knowing that someone's going to check over it, like the teacher or the uni lecturer. And so you want to make it perfect. And often that's what puts people off. And like I always say, just write and no one's going to see it, like draw pictures, scribble it out, like whatever. But, I understand perfectionist genes can kick in. But just get it out when you can. Yeah.
Oh, that's bloody great. Mm-hmm. So if people want to get hold of you, how would they do so? What's the best way to go about it?
You could just, I guess, head to my Instagram or website, brookeneal.co.nz, and just, I guess, follow along the O Studio Hamilton journey. That's going to be, I guess, coming out pretty soon and being announced. So that's going to be somewhere where if you're wanting, I guess, to prioritise your wellbeing and you're in Hamilton, you come and visit.
That is such an exciting venture. Yeah. And like everything else you do, I'm sure you're going to be amazing at it. You're going to thrive as business owners. Are you into cold plunges, ice baths, cold showers?
Well, like we obviously had it as a big part of our like when we were playing in the Black Sticks, after every match we'd have to do it and we'd groan and moan about it. But like the understanding of the benefits of it now, I think, are a lot better. Like at the time we didn't actually realise like how good it was for us. I try and just do the cold shower when I can, and that really helps me. But I think like all of those offerings, like doing the contrast therapy with the heat and the cold, like it's so great to see the education and the research done behind it, because now people are actually understanding like there's all of these benefits that can happen from it. Yeah,
because I suppose when you were doing it, you were just told it was like to prevent inflammation of the muscles or whatever after a game. But like from a mental perspective, like I don't have an ice bath here. I've like a cold shower for a minute a morning. Yeah. And I've got some mantras on some morning mantras that I read out. It's kind of cheesy, but I feel like I'm in a safe space here with you.
Absolutely.
But a cold plunge, whenever I go to a mate's place that's got one and you go for 3 minutes in the ice, like the mental health benefits and clarity, it's just phenomenal. I feel amazing for hours afterwards.
Yeah, it's. I think the dopamine increases over 140% or something. It's crazy. Yeah. Like your hormone, everything changes. So it's. I think people are slowly jumping on that. There's so many movements out there, jumping in the ice, jumping in the sauna, and then that flotation therapy too. You know, it's awesome. I used to use it all the time when I was coming back from, you know, Argentina or wherever, and trying to get over jet lag, and yeah, just that stress relief too. So it's pretty exciting. It's also really scary opening, you know, being a business owner and taking on all that responsibility of, you know, employees and all that. But
oh yeah, have you owned a business before?
Well, no, I've just had my own thing, which is just worried about me, you know.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's my experience as an athlete has probably set me up in the sense of, like, you know, I know how a good team operates and the importance of building a good culture and stuff. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. Is there
going to be some memorabilia at reception, like at the Commonwealth Games gold medal? Oh, yeah, I feel like this is probably a good way to wrap it up. I feel like we talked a lot about the like the dark side, or the, not necessarily the dark side, but the side of high performance sport that you don't get to see.
Yeah.
And also the Olympic stuff, like post Olympic depression, if that's what you want to call it. But I feel like we didn't maybe spend enough time like dwelling on like the good memories.
Yeah.
Like you've got a Commonwealth Games gold medal.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and like I still go and do school visits, and the kids love it. You know, just like seeing that gold. So that's always a bit of a rush. And like looking back, God, it's just it was just like one of those moments. So, you know, so who would you want to beat most out of any country? Like
Australia.
Exactly.
All day.
All day. So, like, you know, it's always, and we're always neck and neck. Like, we never always consistently won. And so, yeah, when we got to the final of the Com Games, it was basically just like in front of a sold-out Australian crowd, because it's obviously in the Gold Coast. And it was just like no better, you know, it was just everything was set up perfectly for the win. And I'm pretty sure that we achieved history. Like, there was no Black Sticks team that had won gold before then. So we were very much going in. I feel like we were a bit of the underdogs. You know, the Aussies had the home crowd, and by the end of it, I'm pretty sure the final score was 3 or 4-1. So we did like give them a bit of a hiding.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So like,
no, a win's a win. You can win ugly, but an emphatic win is very nice.
And I just remember like the pace of the game. Normally it's quite frantic at the end, but because we'd won by such a big number, we were sort of just like, wow, this is actually going to happen. And we took a few more minutes to actually let it sink in. So the celebrations were epic, and you know, like standing on the podium, and half of the Aussie crowd had already gone home by then. But like all of our supporters, you know, were there, and my nana like flew over and surprised me, and I had half my family there, you know, so it was awesome to see everyone in the crowd. And that's definitely a high. Like, I got to go back to Whangarei, my hometown, and there were 3 of us from Whangarei, Stacey Mickelson and Ella Gunson and I. And, you know, the hockey community sort of set up like this ticker tape parade for us, and you see all those little kids with posters, and I remember like getting mine signed by the likes of, you know, Mandy Smith and Lizzie Igerson, and you signing those posters yourself, and you think like, this could possibly change this kid's life, you know. So I never took that for granted, and I think that's why I'm so passionate about like giving these kids like those tools to equip them so that they can do it and have a really great time, and actually, you know, be happy while they're doing it too. So yeah. Would
you say that's the pinnacle or the highlight of your time as a black stick?
I'd say that would be up there. Yeah.
Hard to top, eh? Wow.
Yeah. That feeling of like, gosh, you've finally done it, you know. I think for me, I had this moment afterwards where I realised even if I didn't get the gold medal, I'd still be okay, which was quite profound. I was like, you know, once upon a time, I thought that this would complete me, you know, but then I knew like I've got all this other stuff going on, which is so great. So I was pretty proud of like the work that I'd done to get to the point where I actually wasn't defined by that thing. So people are like, oh, you know, yeah, are you going to put it in your memorabilia? You've got it up on your wall. And I'm like, oh, to be honest, it's probably at the bottom of my wardrobe. Like, my son actually was playing with it the other day, just throwing it around. I don't take it for granted. Like, it's an amazing thing to have, but at the same time, you know, it's just, I guess, one part of my life.
That's kind of cool. Not that there's any like right or wrong, you know, way or thing to. I've had so many people on the podcast that've got medals in their sock drawer or whatever. And there's no right or wrong way, but it's like you are still so young on the big scheme of life, and you've got so much more to do. So you'd hate for that to be the line in the sand. Like, this is as good as what Brooke's life's going to be. Everything is downhill from here.
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully,
yeah, exactly.
hopefully, I guess it's just the impact piece. Like I'm trying to get my messages out there, and like I appreciate you having this channel, because gosh, some of the conversations that you've had, I think like podcasts are just such an easily accessible way to get messages across, you know, and it's becoming more and more popular, and as you were saying, like it's such a competitive space to be in, so
there's just so much content out there. But I found it really interesting. Like with every episode I do, I learn so much myself, and I've had some I'd never heard of the term reds before for women. I've had Margot Flanagan on from Two Raw Sisters, who was a runner,
awesome.
and Zoe McBride, who was going to go to the Olympics as a rower and tapped out a couple of months beforehand.
Yeah, I interviewed her as well too. So she's doing incredible stuff. And Lydia O'Donnell also is.
Oh, Lydia and Esther with Femi. It's incredible. But it's it's funny, It's like we were talking about before about being ungrateful and stuff. But it's like it's fucking hard.
It is. Like I don't think people. Like I think now more than ever we want to know that we're not alone. And like I was listening to a podcast, and one of the people who I think I can resonate with the most at the moment is an Australian swimmer called Libby Trickett, and she talks about her journey from being an Olympic gold medal swimmer for Australia to being a mum of 4. And like I don't know, like someone will be out there, you know, starting their Olympic athlete career, and like maybe something that I've said today might help them in some way, and I just think it's so important to keep talking about these things. So you know, I'm never shy about sharing my stuff, but I think it's always tough to just bring up, you know, the hard stuff, but equally, like people want to know that they're not alone, you know.
Yeah, it's reassuring, and I've got no doubt that there'll be a lot of young athletes and experienced athletes that get a lot out of this.
Well, even if, you know, there's an Olympian like considering retirement, it's like, you know, that's a hard thing to go through. Just the acknowledgement of it.
Yeah. And a weird transition, I guess, like from going, it's strange, and it's so lonely and so isolating because there's so few people that get to experience what you've done.
Yeah, totally. Couldn't agree more.
All right, Brooke Neal. Well, you better go because your car's in New World next door and your son's in the back seat.
Oh, whatever.
No, it must be nice for you to get a day away, is it? Like an adult day?
I don't know what to do with my hands. I'm normally carrying...
rusks?
I'm like normally carrying a nappy bag and snacks. So I'm like, what is this?
So it's kind of like, you've gone from being like a passenger on all these trips, getting the itinerary, being told where you have to be. You're now that person. You're like the team manager.
I am the team manager. Look, I'm great. It's a great phase of life, and at the same time, it's like, can someone just make all the meals for me and tell me where to be?
Yeah. Oh, you missed that. Oh, well, Brooke Hayde.
Thank you.
Brooke Hayde, formerly Brooke Neal. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been a real joy to meet you and sit down with you today, and I'm so pleased that you reached out about coming on.
Thanks so much, John. Appreciate it.